All right, thanks for having me today. My name's Dan Hermes. Sorry. I'm an AI architect, and I know what you all are thinking. Where did you get that natty yellow AI t-shirt? You can't get this on Etsy, right? I actually got this volunteering in New York at a conference, and when I joined Nate on. I don't, did you get a t-shirt? You didn't get a t-shirt. All right. All right. Anyway, so there's only one. Um, I'm here to talk about books, but mostly I'm here to talk about GPTs. And so I want to ask you folks, how many of you have had the experience of requesting something from a GPT, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, whatever, and have it come back to you and say, yeah, I can do that. And you can say, okay, I want to do it exactly this way. It says, absolutely. A, B, C, D. I can do it this way. I say, do it. And it says, all right, I'm going to go do it. And it gives you a link. And you click on it, and it crashes. And then you ask it to do it again. It will give you another link. You click on it, you get a file. You click on the file, and you get a half a paragraph of what you asked for, and then this little note that says, if we were actually doing this, this is where the rest of the content would go. How many people? I'm just curious. Yeah, okay. So I did this enough weeks where volume really is an issue when you're writing, and with code as well. But code was, Nate helped me to solve some of that by finding some tools like Rue Code, and then there's a bunch of other ones now, Claude Code. But for writing, there was not. And I do primarily nonfiction. I wrote for A-Press for a while, but so it's all nonfiction, which makes it a little easier. It doesn't have to like do a character development arc. Um, so what I want to show you is my solution to that problem, because I decided that ChatGPT is a happy meal. That's all it is. It's there to get you. You're there to get you in the door, and that's it. And once you're in the door, you've got to start shelling out. And it's reasonable. It's like, okay, it's reasonable. What's their real product? OpenAI API, where they can charge you by the token. How many people started doing that? Yes. Okay. Are you happier with that? Yes. No. Yes. No. The average is yes. So I was able to scale is the issue. All right, ChatGPT, these other GPTs, they refuse to scale for $20 a month. But you can scale if you have more than that. And so what I'm going to do is drill down into this. Now this has an API. I can't actually run it for you because one chapter takes 8 minutes. Okay, so I'll just do this real quick just so you can see what it would look like. Python book CLI is what we're looking at right here. And you can see here, outline, so it's parsing it, and write. And those are the two basic functions that Book Factory can do, which is outline or write. And what I'm going to do is show you both flows. I'm going to quickly show you outline and then delve back into write a little more deeply. These are all set up the same way. There are 3 pieces that are important. And you can set these up through classes. That's like the older way to do it with CrewAI is what I'm using. But you can also set it up using YAML, which is what I used here. And so there's agents, there's tasks, and there's kickoff. And so you sort of collect the agents and tasks together. It's got them all in there. It knows what they are. There's a kind of an order that happens as far as execution. And then you go kickoff, you send it a bunch of parameters, and it'll do it. And it'll go for a while, and it has its own interface. And really good feedback in that sense. So let me drill down into so here's the writer crew, and here's the outline crew. And the outline crew has agents and tasks. We have a research agent, and you can see that we're getting into things that are going to be prompts. Research the topic. An outline writer, generate an outline for a book. And then for those agents, we have rather long prompts. The first one is a researcher, and the outline writer is going to use what the researcher produces. Now, obviously, if anyone's tried to get any GPT to write, they can write. They can obviously write, and if you don't use the API, you can even get a couple of pages of text. But one page of text will have very little to do with another page of text, even on the same topic. So as an author, continuity is really important. And so the way I address that is basically through a kind of a static RAG approach. And so what I'm doing is putting together a bunch of content in advance that both the outline writers and the writers are going to use. And so this goes anywhere from, here's some content for each of the chapters. Here's some of the tools that we're going to, this is a book on AI. Here's some of the tools that you're going to be thinking about in each chapter. And these are really just notes. And then it gets into chapter headings, maybe what's in the chapter. There's a little bit of a narrative that goes on here, sort of humorous narrative with a couple of companies. And so this gives a little bit of background on the characters, and there actually is a little development. And then a little bit of office lore. Miranda's cat, briefcase, walks across her keyboard during board meetings. And so it gives a little bit of sort of cute background for some of the stories that are going to be in here that are sort of laid over top of the skeleton of teaching AI concepts and about AI tools. So you start to get the idea that you can multi-layer this thing over and above just chapter or section, and it will do that, just like an author would. If you think like an author and give it a large foundation, it will use that foundation as long as you give it to it whenever it needs it. That is the agent writers. So let me head over into the outline itself. And again, this piece is really just kind of queuing it up. CrewBase, these decorators do matter. CrewAI is using these decorators to set up classes in lieu of you instantiating CrewAI classes. So just to be clear, these aren't just decorative. And so tasks, there's your research task. Remember the research task? There's the outline writer, agent, and there really isn't very much code needed to set them up. And this is really my favorite part, because this is teaching me as a developer who has a long background with programming that really what we want to do is move away. And I wrote about 5 pages of programming, and I was able to replace it with 1 page of programming and 5 pages of prompts. So it's this sort of, right? So there really is a change in paradigm and change of thinking. And I feel like this tool is a good way to teach you that, because if you have pages and pages of programming, chances are you're not doing it right. And so then you assemble the crew, there's the crew, and then you're going to want to do something called call a kickoff method. And that happens back here before that. Here's where it loads that RAG stuff. And here's the kickoff. Now the reason why are we going back to look at this method? Because it's passing in parameters. Now, did you notice that there were placeholders for these parameters in the prompts that we were just looking at? A couple of you noticed. You can go back to them. I'm not going to go back to them. And you would see, squiggly bracket topic, squiggly bracket book title. And this is how you make prompts dynamic, right? Is that you feed stuff into them. And here's the amazing part of CrewAI is it sets this all up for you. And when you kick it off, you then give it the dynamic material. And that dynamic material can be 20 pages of text. If you want to just pass in a file name and load up a file name and pass in all that text, you can. That RAG data that I just gave you, all that background, all those tools, that goes in between the 2 asterisks, 2 paragraphs down into the outline writer. And so literally, probably 12 pages of content goes between those 2 asterisks. It says, here's the RAG content, and boom, boom, it knows what it is. It knows how to parse it, and then it goes on with the prompts. I found that to be amazing. The part that isn't so amazing is that if you don't get those parameters right, guess what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. literally nothing. Like it won't run, it won't tell you why it didn't run, and you have to figure out whether you misspelled a parameter or this or that. So this is my review of CrewAI. I think it's incredible for teaching you how to change your paradigm. I think it's incredible for helping you lay out multi-agent systems. But a system that's going to silently fail when you miss a little parameter and not give you any way when you dig down into it until you really get specific with your error reporting, and even then it's a little fuzzy. Um, I give that a 2-star. That's not production grade as far as I'm concerned. I'm used to .NET, right? And so I would love to see something like this catch up. Is it? All right, well, all right. Yeah, that's right. Remember where you are. Who paid for the pizza? All right. You know what? What I want to do is jump right to the content that it produced. This is like where Julia Child is like, oh, yeah, we have a completed here in the oven. I've had this cooking. Yep, I've got it. And here's the outline, and it's JSON. And you can see it's mainly just structured. And what's most important to me is that it's structured sections, because I'm really writing a book by section. And here, this is just a little more readable, the YAML. And then I'm going to go to a chapter, and this will be the last piece, which is the actual writing. It will write these chapters using the tools I talked about, the characters I gave it, the background that I gave it, all of it. And nowhere in here will you see a parenthesis that will say, this will be written when we do it for real. And so I can get about 8 minutes per chapter for this particular book. Do the quick math. It's 8 chapters. It's about an hour. And that's my indicator to stop. Do you guys have any questions?